Welcome. What is up? Welcome to the Mixer episode 15. I'm your host, RC. I'm joined by my buddy here, Jeff. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing good. It's
Welcome
a
back.
it's a good morning and happy to be back.
Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, we kind of I recapped the sports weekend that was. We're gonna talk a little bit more about some of those things here with Jeff, get his take. I did not mention something that happened regarding the Padres run. Would you believe, Jeff, that I missed the walk-off Manny Machado home run in this streak
Yeah, it
because my
kind
Best Buy laptop blue screened the pitch before the home run?
yeah, so that story really makes sense because knowing you, it makes sense that something would go wrong and you'd miss it. Um, but the fact that it was a Best Buy laptop that you probably got from Matt, who's best friends with Sean,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much, right? And Sean is the person that we jokingly half seriously called the simulation.
Yeah,
Um, so it really kind of makes sense.
they're just taking jabs wherever they can. I'm about to
Exactly.
I'm about to channel my inner Karen, march down into Best Buy, mask and all, and give him a piece of my mind. Tell him I missed Manny Machado's walk off, and
Blame them for it.
have
Full
you
out.
seen have you seen the newest Karen video where she's at a Walgreens and she doesn't want to show her ID card because she's a Visa Platinum card holder or American Express Platinum card member or something.
Yeah.
Cool flex. Cool flex. Anywho, let's talk some sports, shall we?
Let's go
So
for it.
we're gonna start with the Padres. I recapped it yesterday. Slam Diego has been born. Number one, I am horribly disappointed that we missed out on not one but two nickname opportunities. Slam Diego and Air Tatis. We I kind of honed in on this. I said we need a name. Have you ever watched Tremors, Jeff?
I mean, a long time ago.
Kevin
I
Bacon.
don't know it that well.
They had the shop owner, and he's like, "We got to give him a name." Anywho, that's what I feel like, and we
All right.
missed it because Slam Diego, awesome. Air Tatis, awesome. I've seen him also called Air Nino, which is kind of a play on words, the way L and air kind of sound the same, which I'm not a huge fan of. But anywho, we missed our chance at greatness. We could have went viral, Jeff. We could have,
I mean, we could have. The problem I have with the Slam Diego nickname, it was awesome for 4 games, five
like,
games,
uh-huh.
and now it's kind of worthless.
Well, bro,
Like,
they're gonna hit more grand slams eventually. So, and
yeah, but
anytime they hit a home run, you just like Slam Diego. It still
but
works. I know it's not a grand slam, but
I guess maybe I'd feel better about it if they were also leading the league in home runs and stuff, but I'm pretty sure they're not.
they were at one point. I don't know if they are right now. I know the Dodgers have been smacking home runs like crazy. So yeah, they may not be, but they were at one point. They're right up there. So we'll see. They're still, we're halfway through the season. They can fall off a cliff or keep it rolling. Let's keep the positivity here. So Jeff, what's your thoughts on this run that they've been on? I'm ready. I'm almost, yesterday's show, I was pretty much ready to crown him. How about
Yeah,
you?
I mean, I'm not ready to crown them. They're still second best in the division.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we can crown them league winners yet, but they definitely have the most entertaining player in the league on the team. Tatis is, I think, kind of far and away the most entertaining player in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's nice to see everyone kind of playing well, or maybe not everyone, but like at least most guys on the team playing well, right?
Mhm.
Like that's when you tend to have go on these streaks is when everyone gets on the same page.
Right.
Um, and like the interesting part of that is, we talked a couple weeks ago about Tatis and like is what he's doing kind of sustainable and stuff like that. And I said to an extent it is, but like not really. And that's kind of like come to fruition and that he's cooled off, but I think he's playing now at a more sustainable level. Um, for example, when we talked a couple weeks ago, he was at like a 420 BABIP, right? So if he put the ball in play, he was getting a hit 42% of the time. Now
Yeah.
that's down to 333, which is much more normal. And he's still hitting 300, right? He's still hitting home runs. He's still getting RBIs. I think this is like kind of the sweet spot where he'll probably stay around for a while.
Hmm.
Um, and I just think that like if everyone can continue to play like they've been playing, the Padres are going to go on a pretty good run for a while.
He's also still very young. He's
Right.
21. So I would expect that sweet spot to increase. Who knows where it goes? A lot of listening to fantasy baseball podcasts don't, I mean, free advertisement for our competitors. But they're talking about him being the number one overall pick in fantasy baseball drafts next year. I mean, it's between him, Acuna, Mookie, and Trout. They're saying. Um, I don't know if I would go quite that far yet. I mean, he's cooled down the last few games. We'll have to see how the second half of the season goes. But regardless, it's super exciting to have him on the team. And I just love these iconic plays that he's been making on, I guess mainly on defense as far as or and on the bases, what he's been doing. And, I'm reminded of um, some of the greats like Bo Jackson running up the wall, gunning. I saw a Bo Jackson highlight the other day where he just from left field he like just a rocket hosed a guy out at home, and it's just intense what that guy can do.
Yeah.
And just what Tatis is doing, I feel like he's gonna have an all-time highlight reel. And what do you think about him being maybe the face of baseball internationally coming up with baseball has kind of lacked that worldwide presence.
Yeah.
um do you think he has the capabilities of doing that, of being the Ronaldo of baseball?
I
This is a
mean,
messy podcast, I have to say, but you know what I mean.
yeah, I'm sure he could. Like a lot of that comes down to just how he gets marketed by baseball and by whatever sponsors he has, right? Like um this is the thing like with Michael Jordan that I think like Jordan had an amazing career, right? Like he's you know
Still rolling.
yeah, but like in terms of like his basketball career, if you just look at the numbers and the stats, like the dude was top basketball player, just off that. But, in our society, so much of the way we think is how things are marketed to us.
Right.
And like Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time because Nike made him the greatest basketball player of all time. Right? Like he had this resume on the court and then they just, pushed everything shoe wise, right? And
Movies, I mean, he did Space Jam.
yeah, and he just became this completely iconic figure where how you felt about him off the court was, aided by how you felt about him on the court, right? So I think this is where like baseball especially has and marketing teams to an extent have failed with like Mike Trout, for example, right? Like Trout's a kind of boring guy,
Very.
but I mean, like, so is MJ in terms of like interviews and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, but they have done a terrible job marketing Mike Trout,
Yeah.
right? Like, you don't see him anywhere, right? Yeah, he has his own Nike shoe, and stuff like that. But like, you don't see him in like McDonald's commercials or stuff like that. And baseball's just done a terrible job of trying to push that. I hope they do a better job with Tatis, right? He's young. He's going to be around for, ideally, barring injury or any of that stuff, another 15 years minimum kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, like, they need to just get on that train now and just make him the face, right? Just, here you go. We missed our opportunity with Trout, but this guy seems much easier. Let's go push him.
He's already doing BMW commercials I've
Nice.
seen, which not my favorite manufacturer. But
I know you're a Mercedes guy.
oh god. I heard somewhere, I think it was another competing podcast, they brought up a good point that he's not coming from nothing. He is the son of another major leaguer. So, and a semi success. I don't really know that much about Fernando Tatis
He,
Sr. as far
he
as his
hit two
career.
grand slams in the same inning.
Well, yeah, I know that. That's becoming the Antonio Gates used to play basketball stat. Um, Fernando Tatis Sr. hit two grand slams in the same inning, but I mean it's a crazy stat. I did bring it up yesterday. Anywho, but he's not coming from nothing, so he has the means to be more connected than other players. He's used to being somewhat of a public figure already because of his dad. So that might open up more marketing opportunities. The fact that he already has a BMW ad before, he played a few games last season. By a few, I mean at least 80. It might have been 100. I can't remember how long he got into the season before he went out with injury. But, it wasn't like he was. I mean, he flashed, definitely. And Padre fans saw the potential. Major League Baseball fans saw the potential, but it wasn't like he burst onto the scene like he is now. However, he was still able to get this BMW ad campaign somehow. So I think you're right, Jeff, and I think the signs are pointing to, he maybe more than anybody else currently in baseball, he could do it. He could do it. So I'm
Yeah.
excited. Hopefully the Padres get ahead of this thing and just give him a contract now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, maybe not like this season, but middle of next season. I don't know. Give him an extension and just pay the guy. Keep him here. The last thing we want to do is see him go someplace else and become this phenom, because as a franchise, it's really tough to kind of live that down.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, the classic example is Babe Ruth going from the Red Sox to the Yankees. There's a whole lot of other examples like that. So, anywho, I'm excited. I'm excited for Tatis. I hope he keeps making those plays, and I look forward to many years ahead with him. Um, Jeff, NBA playoffs are heating up.
Yeah.
Last night, Clippers, Mavericks, Clippers stomped the Mavericks. It was like 150 to 111. They bounced back after Luka made the shot heard around the world. Jeff, did you see either of those games?
The Luka game, it would have been game 4 for them.
Yeah.
Did see some of that. That was awesome. Last night's game I didn't watch. Porzingis didn't play, I believe.
Right.
So that was kind of what happened. I mean, didn't expect them to lose by 40, but didn't expect them to put up a huge fight either. Um,
They were down.
Luka's also got a sprained ankle.
Mm-hmm.
The game before he drops a 40-point triple double with the game winner with the sprained ankle. We see pretty often that NBA players can, professional athletes in general can play a game, maybe two on an injury like that. Asking them to do more than that, or like needing them to do more than that, becomes really hard.
Right.
Um, Especially going against a team like the Clippers, who can throw like a Kawhi, a Paul George at Luka to try to slow him down. I think the bigger like thing in this series, like the Mavericks weren't even expected to really win a game in this series. They've won two, and I think the bigger cause for concern for the Clippers and Clipper fans is Paul George,
Mm-hmm.
and his struggles. Now he had a good game last night, right, which is part of the reason they won by so much.
Mm-hmm.
But he had back like 3 games in a row where he scored less than 10 points or something. And to be the number 2 guy on a team like that, realistically going into the game last night, if Porzingis doesn't get thrown out of game 1 for some stupid stuff, right? Like stupid, I mean stupid on the refs. Like he was trying to break up a fight, and the refs gave him a second technical and threw him out of the game.
Hmm.
If he doesn't get thrown out of game 1, the Mavericks very well could have won game 1. That was fairly close, and the Clippers would have been down 3-1 going into last night. If you're a Clipper fan, I think you see some like chinks in the armor per se.
Mm-hmm.
But like they should be able to close it out now. They're up 3-2. Um, I think that Mavs team is scrappy. If they have everyone, I think they could put up a fight, maybe make it 3-3. But I expect the Clippers to close it out in 6 now.
Yeah. It. Um. The games were entertaining. I watched the game 4 back and forth. Real. Um. Real exciting. I think the Clippers do close it out. A little worried for the next series since they struggled with the round 1 team. However, I don't know, just in the bubble, it feels like these teams that maybe would have had the wear and tear from a full season, um, and rolling into the playoffs because of seeding felt like they didn't have a chance, but with this more condensed playoff format, I feel like, yeah, it's really propping up the teams that maybe would have normally rolled over in the playoffs, to really play hard. And I think that game 4 by the Mavericks is perfect evidence of that. And then you have the Lakers losing like game 1 of their series, and they've just rolled since then. They'll probably close it out tonight.
Yeah, Lillard's not playing tonight from what I read. That series has kind of made complete sense so far. I think going into it, I think if you just looked at it, you'd kind of expect the Lakers to sweep them. But looking at what was happening, the Blazers were playing pretty well. Lillard was really hot going into the playoffs. The
Mm-hmm.
Lakers pretty much didn't need to win any games since they've been in the bubble. They won
Mm-hmm.
the division by what? They were the number 1 seed in the West. They end up winning it by 3.5 games over the Clippers, right? Their last 10 games, they went 4-6. So they weren't playing all that great in the bubble. But I think part of that was because they didn't really need to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they weren't necessarily playing for the 1 seed. They kind of already had it.
It was like tune-up games. They were treating it like a preseason almost.
Yeah. So game 1 in that series, I was definitely not expected, but it wasn't obviously out of the range of outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
Games 2, 3, and 4 have gone much more like I think everyone would have expected, and I expect them to close it out tonight.
There have
Um,
been some other good series and some not so good. The Bucks and Magic, I believe the Bucks, I mean, similar to the Lakers, they lost game one and
yep.
then have been rolling. The Celtics and the Raptors both cruised through their series. Uh, the,
Yes.
the Heat swept. Who did they sweep?
The
They're
Pacers.
okay. The Pacers. They're moving on. Um, and then the Rockets and Thunder 3-2, right?
Two, two, two.
2-2. So that's been a good series. The Jazz and the Nets, right?
Nuggets.
Nuggets. Knew it was an in.
Yeah.
I guess that's been the most exciting series so far. I think the Jazz are up 3-2, but the
Yes.
Nuggets won last night.
Yeah.
So that seems like a series. I'm excited for round two. After this round one, there'll be a little less teams, so it'll be easier to cover. What's going on in each series, and I think we're gonna have some good matchups. It seems like the eyes of the sports world are really focused on the basketball playoffs right now.
Yeah.
Not so much the hockey playoffs, but yeah. What are you looking for in round two? I mean, you have more insight. I haven't really looked at who's lined up to face each other. Um,
Yeah, I haven't looked at that a whole lot. The only series that I know that's set right now is Celtics Raptors.
mm-hmm. That'll be
Um,
a series.
yeah, that should be fun. Both teams to me are kind of similarly built. Um, so I think matchup wise, that should be a lot of fun.
Giannis
One
is back, right? I know he was suspended for
who?
headbutt.
Giannis?
Giannis, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
he's been back. He just won Defensive Player of the Year. He'll probably repeat his MVP. He's only 25 years old. The Nuggets game yesterday, Jamal Murray had 42 points or something like that. On the other day, he scored 50, I believe. So,
So I took
uh,
the under on the 45, a player scoring 45 points in our little side prop thing for
oh
fantasy football league.
yeah,
What chance do I have on the under hitting?
when is that?
It's through the second round. So any player scores over 45 in the second round, I don't get that.
Oh, I mean, someone's scoring over 45.
Yeah.
I'll almost guarantee that.
Damn.
But I mean, it may not happen often, but I would guarantee that at least once someone will go over 45.
This is what I get for not having the most in-depth basketball knowledge.
I also did not fill that out willingly. I figured if the simulation is just going to give me last place twice in a row,
Oh, okay. In protest. In
I'm
protest.
protesting. Yeah,
I hear you.
100%. I'll take my middle of the road draft pick.
You gonna draft Gardner Minshew? Did you see that ad?
Maybe. I mean,
So
you guys 2 years ago I drafted Rex Burkhead in like the third round and still made the playoffs. So,
we've all had those. Usually, my first round pick gets hurt, and
oh
for the
yeah,
for the remainder of the season.
2 years ago I drafted Le'Veon Bell and made the playoffs when he didn't play at all.
See, I mean, the evidence keeps stacking that we're being held down by someone pulling the strings.
Exactly. Maybe I will take Gardner, get me a case of Bud Light,
There you go. At
and
least,
then still make the playoffs in our league.
at least you'll have something for your suffering. Good deal. Yeah, I'm excited for round two of the NBA. And the NFL heating up. Something else I wanted to talk about though, Jeff. I touched on
Yeah.
soccer a little bit, Champions League final. However, Bayern won. The talk of the soccer world is Messi is leaving Barca. Told he informed the team that he wants out. Basically, seems like Manchester City is the leading candidate. there was something on Twitter last night. I couldn't really read into it too much, but soccer transfer rumors are on a whole nother level. Um, he's saying that he wants to go to Manchester City. Pep Guardiola, the manager there. Um, so Jeff, do you see him going to City? Do you see him going someplace else? Is it the Premier League? Is it another
Um,
league?
I mean, to be completely honest, I would be a little surprised if he went to the Premier League. Um, just because it's not a move you see often that older, really good soccer players go to the toughest league in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So it would kind of surprise me. I would expect him more to go to like, uh, Italy, maybe join Ronaldo over at Juventus. Um, maybe
That would
maybe go join Neymar at PSG.
talk about a heel
Um,
turn.
yeah, I mean,
Messi to Juve
hey, you
with
never know.
Ronaldo.
I could see him coming to America, maybe. Although I think he's still too good for that, to be honest. Um, but I think him going to the Premier League would be interesting. Um, as he's gotten older, he doesn't. His position has become a little weird for Barcelona,
Uh-huh.
right? Like he, I know when he was younger, he would kind of drop back more, play a little more outside on that right wing, get the
Mm-hmm.
ball carried up front, do his little dribble thing. Now, as he's gotten older, I know he tends to play a little more up front,
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of like I think he plays a little more like Mo Salah now,
Mm-hmm.
and how he stays kind of up top. He'll still, I mean, still, he's not old, right? But he's like 33 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but a lot of it will depend. Like, does the team he go to, does he have to fit in, right? Or do they just remake their team around him, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think that's been part of Barcelona's problems the last couple of years. Is they tried to do everything around Messi instead of building an actual team.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think City would be a decent destination for him. You have De Bruyne there. They play very similarly to the way, Messi played when he was on those amazing Barcelona teams for whatever it was, 2-3 years in a row where they just destroyed everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I believe he's played under Pep before. So I think the fit makes a lot of sense. Just see what happens. He's
Yeah.
definitely not going to Arsenal.
Thanks for throwing that unnecessary jab in there after the bell. But um, it does seem weird an aging star going to the Premier League, which is um, just there's better talent in the Premier League than La Liga, and the defenders seem more physical in the Premier League. A team going to a team like Manchester City where he wouldn't have to be the lead guy. They seem like they have a system, maybe that's why he's kind of leaning that way at his time in his career. He doesn't have to be a focal point. He could be more of a role player, but that role is going to lead itself to a lot of scoring
Yeah.
opportunities. I saw some betting odds that AC Milan is the second most likely destination. That would be, the Italian league going up against Ronaldo, but I guess he's in talks of leaving um, of his own. Ronaldo, that is.
Yeah.
And Juve was pretty high up the list as a possible transfer destination. I would like him to stay at Barca because I'm a Barca fan and I like, watching their games. A big Messi fan. If it's Suarez and Griezmann there, I don't know if that has quite the same appeal as watching Messi being part of that trio.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm sure they'll work it out. Um, they might go through the long suffering title drought of like 5 years or something. Thoughts and prayers,
Yeah.
but um, I do see there a slim chance that he would go to the MLS. Maybe not this time around, but in a few years after, this might be his final landing spot before coming stateside. However, like you mentioned, he's 33. Does he come here when he's 35, or does he come here when he's like really on his way out? It's like 37 or something. Um, but he'd probably fit right in here because, American pastime is not paying taxes. And, these major soccer stars seem like they're all for
They
that life.
I was gonna say those major soccer stars all want to avoid all the taxes.
Mhm.
So, and they also, Messi might benefit being here because in America we have lawyers and accountants that will help you not pay taxes,
Yeah,
whereas
there's ways around.
it seems like they don't do a very good job of that over there.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what. Seems like the press is more controlled over here somehow than some of the stories that come out of these European news sites.
Yeah.
So, anywho, we'll be covering it. Although it does seem like some sort of announcement is imminent. So maybe even next week we'll have an update. So NFL is getting closer. I'm excited, and we have some scrimmages going on. I know the Chargers are supposed to have some sort of scrimmage tomorrow. Um, I saw something that Joe Burrow did well on his first like official scrimmage. So there's just little news nuggets trickling in. Um, Jeff, I don't know if you might know the answer to this. Are any of the teams doing um because I know in other preseasons they'll have like joint practices against
Yeah.
other teams. Maybe not, there's not going to be full preseason games, but have you heard anything about joint practices between two teams, or has that been
I have not. I don't think they're doing that, but I'm not 100% sure.
they're taking a you know, extremely cautious approach to the current situation with the coronavirus. And there was the false positives that just came out. Some 77 false
Yeah.
positives came out, and every affected team just shut down the practices. And fortunately, it was just that there were false positives. It seems like the positivity rate for these NFL camps has been really low. So they are, there hasn't been any outbreak. So far, so good. Whether that lasts a full 16 game season, we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Uh, However, I'm excited. I'm excited for fantasy football. However, I can't really find my groove so far in my mock drafts. I don't know if it's my just because I've been a little behind on prep, but it seems like more than other years, there's like a lot of there's a lot of guys I like in every tier, and it's like I want all of them, and I'm trying to like line up my picks so I can get like two of them, 2 out of 3 or
Yeah.
something. And what keeps happening is, I'm left with one, and instead of being happy with the one I got, I'm sad about the like 2 that I didn't get. And since I'm not doing as many leagues, I think I'm only doing 2 and then maybe 3 if our absentee commissioner can get his gumball derby together. Um,
Yeah.
I'm worried that I might just have to rely on daily fantasy to scratch that itch for these players that I want to own. So I don't know if you've had some similar some similar issues in your prep, or if you have Just any other general thoughts leading into the fantasy season?
Um, Not really. My prep started a little bit later than usual in terms of like actually drafting. So I don't like to do mock drafts in the sense of like, mock drafts on ESPN or wherever else you can do mock drafts.
Uh huh.
I enjoy doing best ball drafts
Yeah.
because, they're what, $10, something like that. If you go to Underdog, um, I mean, they have a tournament called the Bubble.
Mm-hmm.
It's a $5 entry, right? The cool thing about Underdog too is like I'll read you this real quick. So there's going to be up to 22,000 people enter, right? They give out 100K in prizes, so 20,000 goes to first and all that. All the way down to you get your $5 back if you finish in the top 5,600. It's all best ball. It's half point PPR, and then you're only drafting quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends. No defense, no kickers.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of cool doing that. And you get to see, the thing I like about this is when you do those mock drafts, like on ESPN or Fantasy Pros or whatever other site you're doing it, they, Fantasy Pros, they're doing it based off of like expert ADP and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that, which is all well and good, but a lot of those are just general rankings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's not like none of that stuff emphasizes like, you know, the better experts would pick this guy here. It just averages them all out
Yeah.
together, right? When you go on
Yeah.
ESPN, if you run a mock draft through there, like after the first like 3 rounds, half the people leave, you know. So then it's just auto drafting. It's really kind of boring.
Right.
I find, even though these leagues are really cheap, right? $5-10. If you get in a few of them, you're probably going to win one or two to get your money back. But it's nice to see where people are actually like taking guys.
Mm-hmm.
So you can generally see like, if a guy moves up, if a guy drops, right? Like you can kind of see that, and then you can go look out. You can go do some research and try to find out why. Why is Alvin Kamara going third overall now when a week ago he was going in the second round, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that that's happening with him, but like
Right.
just in general.
I hear you. Yeah, there have been some people really shifting on the draft boards lately as these camp news things come out, like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, for instance. He was going to have to compete with Damian Williams, right?
And then
Uh,
Damian opted out.
and he opted out. So then all of a sudden, Clyde Edwards-Helaire becomes, first round pick. Maybe into first round, high second round pick, whereas he was going like fourth, fifth, probably before that. So, yeah, yeah, and you do get more evidence of that in those leagues. I can't think. There was a receiver who really sprung up, and I can't remember. But in our draft, I think he got snagged right in front of me. But yeah, I'll have to check out Underdog. That sounds fun. I'm definitely not the biggest fan of Fanball since they kind of acquired my fantasy league. I don't like the Fanball site. It's
I'm with you on that.
it's I don't know. It's clunky. There's all kinds of menus. You have to click a bunch of times to get to where you're trying to get. The navigation is just all over the place. I mean, I guess it looks kind of cool, the design, but I don't know. The functionality of it can use some enhancements. I'll have to check out Underdog. I downloaded the app. It looks cool. It looks fun. So have to
Yes.
on that before
I
the season starts.
I did my first Underdog draft last night or
Mm-hmm.
yesterday afternoon, and it's I entered their little tournament, the $5 entry. You can do up to 150 entries if you want.
Oh,
Not that
nice.
I'm going to do that, but you can. And then they also have tournaments like there's a 3-person draft for $3 that if you win you get $8 or whatever, right? There's 6-person draft and then a bunch of 12-person drafts, right? And they have varying entry fees, right? They have a $3 entry, $5 entry, $10 entry, $100 entry, $25 entry, right? All that stuff. So there's a lot of options. The site seems so much better than Fanball to me.
Hmm.
They're not trying to do everything, I think, is part of why. It's really just fantasy football right now, and it's just best ball, I believe. So,
Yeah, it's nice when they have a narrow focus. That's kind of the thing on Fanball too, is they have all these different options as far as like pick timers and that sort of thing. So it's best to maybe just focus at what you're good at. So I'll have to check that out. And if anybody out there is looking for, maybe their home leagues are taking the year off, it's you know it, I am fortunate enough to have a stable job, but there's a lot of people who do not. So a lot of people maybe don't have that play money that they usually do. So if your home leagues are kind of falling by the wayside, going down in count, it's a way to get some skin in the game at like a low um, you know at a pocket cost. My favorite thing is watching Red Zone and just seeing all my players. And if you have a bunch of players, they may not all have great weeks, but it'll give you something to cheer for. It's like having little micro teams,
right.
and it just makes those moments that much better. And it's a distraction from all the chaos going on in the world, which may or may not be essential right now. However, as we have shown, we're not turning a blind eye to that sort of thing. But it is nice to have an escape sometimes. So Jeff, the Belgian Grand Prix is this weekend.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what you got to do. Set your DVR. But yeah, it should be a good one. Rain is still in the forecast. The last I checked, it's my favorite track. Ferrari is supposed to have another terrible weekend, but rain is the great equalizer. We might get a crazy result, and yeah, I look forward to this race every year. On top of that, they officially added a few other races to the calendar, or maybe just the one, but the Turkish Grand Prix is going to be back. It's one of the better modern tracks. They haven't been there for years. It's a good blend of the kind of the old track feel, but
Yeah.
with the new track amenities. And
Okay.
yeah, it's there's been some really kind of changing moments there. Vettel crashed into his teammate in I think 2010. It was a big deal. So, anywho, I'm excited for that to be back. But yeah, so that's a weekend ahead. NBA playoffs, Vetter Cup's going on right now. Padres, Mariners, and Padres got somewhat smoked last night, but you know, our rivals in Seattle will look forward to seeing how that season goes. By the way, I keep forgetting to do an update on the Aria Cup standings, the battle for my daughter's fandom, Padres Dodgers. I believe the Dodgers are up on that this year, so we'll have to give those updates as those games get played. Anywho, I think that covers it. Jeff, anything else before we get on out of here?
No.
Good deal. Thank you everybody for listening, watching. Don't forget to subscribe to us on whatever your pod catching device is, your app of favor, and follow our Twitter at FCY Mixer, Facebook as well, and we're on Instagram too. And spread it around. If you have a sports fan in your life, let them know. There's two dopes that maybe have a San Diego specific takes on it, and occasionally are entertaining. And occasionally we have dogs chime in. If you have a dog lover in your life, we are pro dogs here. But thank you guys for your support. Jeff, thank you for joining us today. Let's go get some PF Chang, shall we?
I'm in.
All right. Later, guys. See you next week.